Well, hey, folks. Bloop. There's my screen. What's going on, guys? We are going to do some. We're going to do some game design today. We're going to work on the Bastion campaigns. We're going to continue fleshing out Bastion Events and Complications. So give me a second here. I'm going to check my signal. Do my social media bump. So give me a second. It sounds like I'm coming through okay. And so we're going to do a social media bump. I'm just going to cut paste a couple channels here. This is the stuff that you normally see, the countdown. You don't get a link to these things until after the video goes live. So you see these premiere countdowns from people that go live. That's honestly, that's so they can post, hey, we're going live, and not have to inconvenience you by just kind of sitting around while you know we're all drilling out these upload link these video links. So let me regale you with my my background story, etc., while I press a bunch of cut paste buttons here. So my name is Phil Kearney. What's up? I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish them online, and I am creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999, and I've been creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, publishing on the DMsGuild since 2018. And boy, I love using the 5e game engine just to tinker with and to mess around with. Actually, to that point, I just published a video for the 2025 Monster Week featuring dragons this year. I posted a video about DRAGONFLIGHT, which is using upscaled combat squares at the 50-foot scale instead of the 5-foot scale to be able to depict combat at 30 and 60 miles per hour. It's very similar to the Mad Max convoy truck scenarios that I built for Descent into Avernus, and it's like the underlying, it's the underpinning mechanic that makes the Spelljammer dynamic scaling combat system work. So it's the same principle, just applied to dragons. So I finished my social media posts. Let me rearrange my screen real quick, and I'll show you. If you click on down here, yeah, here is the DRAGONFLIGHT video. It basically does a deep dive into how dragons should be able to fly as fast as crows do, and the mechanics needed to make it happen while you've got knights on the back of the dragon with dragon lances and ballistas and stuff firing at each other, like giant fast lizard elephant howdahs. So fun stuff. Check it out. While we're here, here's the full playlist of all of the 49 episodes, including this one of us developing the Bastion campaign. And the playtest document, you can read along as we're building today. This is the live document that I've been using. This gets sent off to an editor, chewed up, and then when it gets sent back to me, I import it into Microsoft Word and do my page layouts. And then once the layouts are done, I do the artwork. So on Monday through Friday in the morning, you can watch me doing page art for the Eberron adventure that we'll be publishing on DMsGuild. And then at lunchtime on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as in evenings like this on Monday and Thursday night. Tuesdays and Fridays at lunch, Mondays and Thursday nights for game design. Right now we're working on the Bastion campaign. We'll probably continue working on martial powers. I think we're going to flesh out the paladins and do a power check in martial powers starting tomorrow, probably for the next couple weeks. So we're running playtests for that on my Discord. There's links to the Discord down here as well. And here's a bunch of books I've already published on the DMsGuild. They're all free preview. You can check them out if you're a D&D enthusiast, you want to play D&D. Spend some time on it. It's if you think this stuff is cool, consider making up a purchase. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. So thanks a lot for being here, guys. So here's the document. It's the same document that we use over here as well. I'm going to pull this one away and make it its own window so I can tab flip easily. So we are working on Bastion events. We've resolved the mechanics of how to build bastions, how to improve them, the different facilities, what benefits your characters and the bastion gets for having different facilities improved inside of your bastion, how to frame bastions as settlements, how to frame armies as bastions, bastion conflicts between other bastions and settlements. And then we've gotten through all the different orders the mechanics of how to issue orders to develop and do things through your Bastion instead of your character being involved. So stuff can be going on at the home base while your team is out adventuring. The whole framework for the Bastion campaign is that a Bastion turn takes a week, and every week that you issue new orders to your Bastion, it makes basically a Bastion test, which is like an ability check that your character would make, but it's built around how strong your Bastion is. And depending on what you try to achieve, like I landed here randomly on recruiting monsters, which is something that can be done with the menagerie through the plan and through the planar gate. When recruiting monsters, the maximum CR you can recruit cannot exceed the rank of the Bastion, or the level of the characters if they are to join characters on an adventure as sidekicks. You can retain a number of monsters as allies this way equal to the number of Bastion points expended to improve this facility. So there's ranks 1 to 5 of the Bastion, but you can keep pumping that number up over time to hire more and more monsters. And as you gain ranks, like I could have 7 points put into my menagerie, but still only be a first rank guild. So I would only be able to recruit up to CR1 monsters, but with 7 points put into it, I could have 7 creatures. So there you go. And then when I finally get 10 points, I'll upgrade to rank 2, and then I can have up to CR5. And if I had to upgrade to 2, that means, well, I've got the 7 points. So I would then be able to swap out those creatures for higher CR monsters, and as the Bastion continues to grow, so do the CR of the monsters. And then the character levels, if the Bastion we're issuing orders to your Bastion, and if they fail the ability check, it creates a complication. So complications are adventure hooks that your team can choose to pursue or ignore. If you choose to ignore them, whatever the order was that created the complication, that order is halted until that complication is resolved. If your characters want to make it their adventure to resolve what that complication is, the DM will tell you what went wrong and what does the team need to do to fix it. And if they're like, yeah, I like that adventure idea, let's go do that, that becomes your episodic adventure for this week. It'll take place within the 7-day stretch of your Bastion turn. So by the end of the Bastion turn, you've resolved the complication, and then the action, the order that you issued may continue. If it only takes one Bastion turn to complete the order, then it completes the same turn of that you resolve the complication to reward you for resolving it quickly. If it's something that, like, you're going to make a hammerhead ship in your dry docks, it's going to take 2 seasons to make it. Well, I'm going to make that die roll as soon as I issue the order, and a complication occurs with it. That complication could be resolved anywhere along that timeline. The longer you wait to deal with it, it'll evolve and change what the complication is. It's just an open prompt for, do I want to deal with it right now? It's like, well, here's what my problem is. And it's like, well, I don't like that as an adventure idea. Well, okay, well, you can put it off if you want. You've got 2 seasons to resolve it for the ship to be completed on time. But if I need to get it done now and I don't want to wait, and so I don't want to make an adventure out of it next week or next month or next year, then I can instead issue an additional order to have my Bastion try to figure it out, fix the problem yourself. And that becomes a second ability check that they make to try to hit the DC was 25 that they had to hit. They also have to hit a DC 25, but it's going to be using, like, if it was a crafting issue, like we don't have the materials that we need to be able to create this thing, that's the complication that was randomly chosen. And so the adventure the adventure would be to go find that material, like a MacGuffin quest, or a rescue mission if it was a person or something like that you needed. But if you're just relegating it to your Bastion to resolve, then whatever the narrative is, like say you then randomly roll, since the players aren't going to create a solution, you randomly create a solution yourself. And so, like, say I rolled, say it's a recruitment issue. Like, it's a crafting task, but it has a recruitment issue. So the recruit issue is that you just don't have anyone that's qualified to make the thing that you want. So now you got to go find somebody. So part of that recruit die roll is to find somebody who can hit a DC 25 on the crafting check that you need. So you have to hit a DC 25 on the recruiting check to find that person. And when you do, congratulations, the task goes through. if your crafting, if your bonuses to resolve recruiting issues is higher than your bonuses to resolve crafting issues or complications or tasks in general, orders, just orders, fine. If your bonus to succeed recruitment orders is higher than your bonus for crafting, then it's probably going to be easier for you to hit that DC 25. You are actually likely to succeed, but instead of it just being, hey, I make a boat, it's now, I'm trying to make this boat, but I didn't have the right guy, so now I have a guy, and that guy becomes a floating plot hook. It's like, well, you brought in this guy, and we had to bring him in a hurry, so maybe there's maybe that guy's actually trouble. So as you start triggering Bastion events every turn, some of them can relate back to, hey, remember that guy that we hired? Well, it turns out there's this mafia that's looking for him because he was supposed to build this boat with like this secret patch in it or something, and as a result, the boat sank. So now they want to gut him. And well, he's in your Bastion now, so are you going to hand him over to the mafia, or are you going to protect him and then get in a fight and then basically earn an enemy in the form of the mafia that could try to sabotage your Bastion at a later point, burn it down maybe? That becomes a turning point for your campaign, a decision point in your campaign when you're defining where you help allies or turn them over, depending on what your loyalty is to them. That's your campaign. So that's how the system works. So right now we're spinning down to getting past settlements and running armies. Conflicts. We got past the conflicts of sieges and sabotage, which works for open warfare as well, though we will be eventually developing a book on 5-foot scale combat in an army at the 50, 500, and 1 mile, 10 mile, 100 mile scale plus for playing basically Risk or Stratego in D&D. We can do it. I've already done it. I just haven't built the book. I'm just a one-man studio. I do all the writing. I do all the play testing. I hire an editor, but I do all the page layouts and I do all the artwork, and I do almost all of it here on stream with you. So that's the purpose of the stream, is to walk through these processes, just to show you what it's like to build. And also, if you think it's cool, maybe you'll join me for play testing. So I'm kind of advertising the stuff that I'm doing as well, and stuff that I plan on doing. So if I ever get into Kickstarters, I'm in a good vehicle to be able to give you a daily log of what's going on with it, because that's what I'm basically doing with all these other projects, is I'm giving you a play-by-play update of how this thing is coming along, and you get to watch that process unfold here and hear the conversations and the thinking that goes on behind where these ideas came from. So Bastion events, roll a d20. There's 20 different events, and they're structured between, depending if an army has a complication, it's a free-floating bastion of soldiers that are presumably on the march to go attack something or to defend something from another army or significant scale threat. There's a bastion itself, which is a structure with rooms inside of it. It's an interior. It's generally an indoor space, so obviously you can have like gardens and stuff like that. So you can have outdoor space, but it's a property. And then there's settlements, which are communities. And communities are also ran as bastions, just at a larger scale. So all three of these things uses the same bastion test mechanics to resolve the different tasks that are put to them, whether it's building things, support, like harvesting crops for autumn, or attacking a neighbor. All these actions have the same structure, so when you fail a die roll, you create complications. And every bastion turn, each bastion has one or more events that happen to it. These are just things that happen during, your week of adventuring. So hey, let's just do that real quick. I'm going to take a die here. I'm going to take a trusty d20, and I'm going to slap one out, and I rolled a 7. Low is bad, high is good, just like in combat. But there's nothing in here that modifies it. It's completely random. So, number 7, I receive an unsavory proposal this week. What am I doing this for? Am I doing this for my bastion, the settlement that's grown around my bastion, or for the army that is currently on the way to attack a neighboring barony that's attempting to poach from my forests. I roll a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it affects my Bastion. Unsavory proposal. Rival, like a rival organization or a monster, offers an adventure hook against that. Against the community of an ally. Against against a current or... Okay, so it's affecting my Bastion. It's an unsavory proposal. Either a rival organization or a monster offers an adventure hook to the detriment of a current or potential ally. So there you go. Someone's being asked something that's going to burn a relationship that I may have been potentially cultivating or already have. Is it worth it to me? And then the DM gets to make up what that is. But if you just don't like the sound of that off the base, it's like, don't give me the details. I'm not interested in actually running that. Let's just relegate that to our Bastion. So we'll go down to the Bastion. We're looking at number 7, unsavory proposal. This is just an event. Okay, so how does this go? So at the beginning of each Bastion turn, roll 1d20 and consult the result below. Some facility benefits can allow you to roll more than one event per Bastion turn. These events can be new plot hooks the character pursues, or it can be the source of any complications that arise. So this is just a thing that happens. An unsavory proposal happens. It's going to damage a rival of mine. It came, an ally of mine. It came from a rival or maybe a monster that I have been harassing. Then I have complications, which are separate. When you fail a Bastion test, roll 1d6 on the table corresponding to the order issued to determine the nature of the complication. Characters issue an order in the Bastion. Make a Bastion test to determine if the Bastion succeeds or encounters a complication. Characters choose to resolve the complication personally if this is an adventure hook, or relegate to the Bastion as an additional order. If success, the complication is resolved and the delayed order is completed as intended. If it fails, the complications persist and either compounds or escalates. And then loop those until you complete the task. If the complication compounds, roll an additional complication on top of the one that currently exists. If the complication escalates, increase the difficulty by 5 to a maximum of DC of 30. So you didn't resolve it the first time because you failed the complication test. Now it's either going to escalate or you're going to roll an additional complication on top of it that must also be fixed. At some point, it's going to start cascading and it's going to become the central focus of what your characters are doing because they can't get anything done. You have to, every complication requires an additional order, and you only have so many orders you can issue at a time. If all of your orders are being eaten up by complications, you basically have to stop whatever it is that you wanted to do and invest all of your time in resolving these complications, freeing up the blockades that were preventing you from succeeding at the task. If you have a complication and you succeed it, that resolves the task. It now completes as though you had passed the check. So the DC of the complication is the same as the order that incurred it. When rolling to resolve a complication, make a Bastion test. The Bastion die is determined by the rank of the Bastion, not the rank of the issued order. That might not be relevant anymore. The Bastion die is determined by the rank of the Bastion, period. And any facility benefits that add Bastion dice to the roll are included when rolling to Bastion test to resolve the complication. Attack. Attack is now in order. Attack is now in order. I can hear myself. I need to turn that volume down. 1 second. Mic check, mic check. Bring that down, and that should be good. Hopefully that'll be better. Here, let's see. Let's take this up here to the list of order events. There we go. That'll do. Actually, what I want to do is go to defending. Determine the rank of the bastion is below. Some facilities allow you to issue an order to defend the bastion. The result of the bastion test replaces the damage DC. You can issue up to 1 order to defend a bastion per turn. To defend a bastion per turn, keeping the result of higher than the bastion DC. If the result is less than the DC, a complication occurs. And the defense DC remains as listed for the rank of Bastion. When a Bastion takes damage, you can choose to reduce troops and defense die by 1 rank. When an attacking army fails the attack roll, reduce the troops and attack. It's not you can choose to. When a Bastion takes damage, you can choose. When a Bastion takes damage, instead of losing Bastion points, you can choose to reduce the troops and defense die by 1 rank. 400 becomes 40, 40 becomes 10, 10 becomes 0. When an attacking army, let's see. Wait, when a Bastion takes damage, instead of losing Bastion points, you can choose to reduce the number of defending troops by 10%. Per point prevented, which means you could slaughter your own troops to protect some of your facilities. If it's easy for you to replace the number of troops that you have, then that might actually be an optimal solution, especially if you're using a crypt to just create undead. It makes it very, very easy for you to restock because all your dead are still here. Just raise them back up. Let's go, champs. Here we go. Yeah, super easy. It just depends on how you have your bastion structured. Let's see. And then it's 10% because it's basically a scaling 10% drop. So let's look at size of our armies. Let's see. And then it's 10% because it's basically a scaling 10% drop. So let's look at 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. 400, 4,000, 1,000. Yeah, that's the way it should sit. armies. 200,000. Good. These numbers are being consistent. $100,000, 10,000, 100,000, 100K. Good. I'm good with that. I need to go back up through the document to check the other areas where we can recruit. Yeah, good. Good. Just want to make sure the numbers are consistent. Good. 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 War room, workshop. I think, did workshop have? Yeah. Downtime. Checking in. Orders. Creating crisis. Stables. That's great. No, that's still good. Just double checking to make sure everything's straight in here. Double checking to make sure everything's straight. Crypt. Okay. Nope. This is great. This is consistent. Okay, cool. Let's get back into it. Order of operations. Attack. Create non-magical items. Okay, cool. Let's get back into it. Order of operations. Oh, wait. I was supposed to check the C. Just going down. Bastion Events and Complications. Nope. Defending. If you fail, you create a complication. Attacking and defending. Attacking. When a bastion issues an order to attack, make a bastion test against the defense DC of the target bastion. Multiple orders can be issued to the same army each bastion turn, reducing the bastion die rolled by one size for each additional order issued. The defense class of the bastion determines the DC of the bastion test. If the result is less than the defense class, a complication occurs. If the result is less than the defense class. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. If the result is less than the defense class, 10% of the troops are lost. There, 10% of the original total troops are lost. I don't know if I want to make complications out. I don't want to do that. I know I don't want to do that. Some facilities allow you to issue an order to defend the bastion. The result of the bastion test replaces the damage DC if higher. Some facilities allow you to issue an order to defend the bastion. The result of the bastion test replaces the damage DC if higher. Yeah, I don't think I need a complication on attack. I failed the attack. I was taking a proactive thing. I'm risking lives. I failed the attack. I lose 10% of my troops. There you go. If I succeeded the check, I wouldn't have lost any troops worth noting. I mean, it wasn't 0 deaths, but troop loss was minimal. Let's say that. But if I fail the die roll, I'm going to lose troops. On the defense side, if I make my defense roll and it's worse than my base defense DC, I trigger a complication. The DC stays in place, and I don't lose any troops unless the attacker can actually hit the DC. And if they can, I can then choose to fatigue 10% of my troops instead of incurring damage. When a Bastion takes damage, instead of losing Bastion points, you can choose to reduce the number of defending troops by 10% of the original total defenders. Round up. Per point prevented and defense die. Period. When an attacking army to remain willing to fight, if the check drops below pour 3 times, they mutiny and disperse. Okay, I'm good. To siege a rival, you must issue a separate order. I believe we already resolved that in creating an army above. Armies. Armies are similar to bastions, but don't have a fixed location and don't have any facilities. To create an army, a bastion must recruit soldiers as detailed in the basic recruit order above. These soldiers become I can still hear myself. I'm going to let it go. I'm thinking facilities are limited to what the DM determines is reasonable. For example, it may be reasonable for an army of 400 troops to have a small armory and smithy in that can be transported by wagon in support of the army. But a demiplane with a fixed location, let's pick something. Oh, yeah, let's go with a garden. Would require wagons full of dirt, which might not be reasonable for the current army. To create an army, a Bastion must, 1, 2, 3. To create an army, a Bastion must recruit soldiers as detailed in the basic recruit order above. These soldiers become a Bastion governed by the recruiting, become a mobile Bastion governed by the recruiting Bastion. Become a governed mobile, become a governed Bastion. Become a governed Bastion, similar to that must expend Bastion points to sustain authority. These soldiers become a governed Bastion that the recruiting Bastion must expend Bastion points to sustain authority over the army. Similar to Bastions and settlements above, an army must maintain a minimum, must maintain a poor lifestyle, or the troops must maintain a minimum of a poor lifestyle, or the troops desert their duties or mutiny against the commanders. Number of Bastion points required to sustain a lifestyle is detailed to maintain lifestyle order above, and the governing Bastion determines how long a lifestyle can be sustained without a new Bastion test. Similar to Bastions and settlements, when a new Bastion test is required to establish a new lifestyle for the army, if the level of lifestyle decreases, roll a number of complications equal to how many levels of lifestyle are lost. If the lifestyle drops below poor, an additional complication occurs. Woof, that's rough. Recruiting and maintaining soldiers. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So most of the complications that's going to occur to an army is going to come from maintaining a lifestyle. There's nothing in here that jumps out at me. Like, because you can do recruit, like hire a monster. Your army can recruit new people to come, like to conscript people to come on board. If you have the facilities to do so, you can. Thinking these, sir. Okay, so okay, so I'm trying to think, should there be complications for failing attack rolls and failing defense checks? The defense checks, you don't take any losses until you decide whether you lose troops or Bastion points. That's your choice to make as the defender. Once you're out of troops, you have to lose Bastion points. If you've lost all your Bastion points and they keep attacking you, you are now going to lose troops. So you can sacrifice one for the other, depending, because all those troops, they could just simply become an army that is now no longer has a base, and is now you're now free floating them. You're maintaining a lifestyle for them with maybe like cash that you actually have on hand. Maybe you can sustain a poor lifestyle for your troops for a couple weeks while you figure out how they can make money, and maybe you make a mercenary guild out of it, and maybe you start acquiring ships or large caravans, stuff like that. Maybe you go mobile. We'll see. The world changes, and you change with it. So failing the check, just wastes the order. Yeah, I think I'm actually good with that. Not having a complication, losing 10% of your troops when you attack, that's good, because it means you can only fail attacking 10 times, and your army is obliterated. 10% of the original troops are lost. If the amount of troops remaining is equal to or is less than the minimum for the current rank of army, the rank reduces to the appropriate rank based on the troops that remain. Yeah, that's language that's important. The rank of the army reduces. I think that's important language to include here. So some facilities, the rest of the Bastion test replaces the damage of higher. Otherwise, the order is wasted. You can issue only one order per turn to defend a Bastion per turn, keeping the result if higher than the Bastion DC. If the result is less than the DC, there. I need that in that roundup language. Rounded up or lost. Beep. Per point prevented. Can I neutralize all Bastion point loss by sacrificing 10% of my troops? Can I neutralize all Bastion point? Looks like a yes. Is that right? No, am I reading that backwards? Yeah. So it's per Bastion point. 3-6. Per Bastion point. Yeah, wow, okay. It's per Bastion point. Yep, that's the right way to do it. That makes sense. That does make sense. Per point prevented. If the amount of troops remaining is less than the minimum of the current rank. Oh, no, wait, you know what? I don't need to worry about that. Because reducing the points is naturally going to drop the rank of the Bastion, which will drop the score. We're just looking at troops. Army appropriate base on the troop that remains. Per point prevented. When the Bastion has lost all troops, it must lose Bastion points. Period. That might be redundant, but we're going to include it just for the redundancy of it until it gets edited proper. Might be redundant, but we're going to include it just for the redundancy of it until it gets edited. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Okay, that's all resolved. So we don't have complications that we have to worry about for attacks and defense. We can eliminate that. So we can focus on, because these armies are going to be rolling potentially lots of maintain tests to sustain themselves, and the chance of being depleted is high. So that will create plenty of complications. But you see that, like, for the maintain order to sustain at least a poor, if not comfortable, lifestyle for the troops on the march, if you fail, if the quality of lifestyle drops, you'll trigger these events. So if it's like I'm trying to maintain a decent lifestyle for my army, it slipped from wealthy down to poor. That's two grades of drop. So that's going to be two separate complications that occur. First off, we had the unsavory deal that was offered to us at the beginning of the turn for our army. So now we're looking at the maintain complications. Our lifestyle is dropped from wealthy to poor, and now we're being offered this unsavory deal from a monster that we encountered on our march, and I got a 5 and a 2. So the complications related to that monster that's offering us an unsavory deal, I rolled number 2. Unnatural streak of bad luck caused by curse or blight magic. The empower order can be used to remove the curse or heal blight, and the plot hook can be to investigate the source of the curse or the blight. And then number 7, so there's a blight, there's an unsavory creature that's offering us a bargain if we potentially turn on our allies. So maybe this thing's afflicting us with a curse and is offering to remove it from us if we help them. And I also rolled a 5, which is research. Your Bastion's goods and services value declines due to rivals meddling. The research orders to discover a spy in your midst. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so just quickly parsing that together, the unsavory deal is coming from the spy that you would discover during your research, and let's see, and the spy is there because somebody that you thought was going to be an ally of yours is actually spying on you to keep an eye on you. Maybe it's innocent. Maybe they're assessing you as an ally and they want to see how you act when you don't think you're being watched, but you caught them watching you. So now you're thinking, are these people worth it or not? So the spy that you caught, their unsavory proposal is let them go and pay them what the spy is also paying them, and they'll report back whatever it is that you want me to tell them. And I won't tell them I'll tell them this is what I discovered during my time there. And then paint a picture, and I will sell that picture so I can get paid by them and I can get paid by you. And now you know that you caught me, you can use me to feed. I'll double agent for you for escaping retribution from you. And just treat me as a messenger that you're being spied upon by who you thought was a rival, who you thought was an ally, but may actually be planning to be a rival of yours. So that becomes your storyline. And if you decide that you want to if you want to make a quest out of that, you can. If you just want to relegate this, then you would do your research roll and you would do your empower roll to put an end to the creature cursing you and to discover their identity and to basically work out that deal with them. If you wanted to make that your adventure yourself, then you can say this is the situation that's going on. This is what you discover as a result of what's going on. You're being sabotaged. How do you want to deal with that sabotage? And then that becomes your adventure. You know all this stuff. What do you want to do about it? I like that. So I think what I want to be doing here is now, do I want to try to similarly frame these around the idea of being a settlement, army, or bastion? Is this the right way to do that as well? Let's see if we can. Let's just see if we can. Create non-magic items. That's what crafting is for. The item. The item to be empowered. Being crafted becomes cursed. During the empowering process. During its creation. Empower order. Issue the empower order to purge the item of its detriment. Maybe I don't need to have a secondary line. Plot hook to find a means of purging the item of its detriment. You lack the required plans to create the item. Now, I don't need plans to create an item. Oh, no, I guess you could. We haven't really talked about plans a lot, so I guess that's something that we need to do. I guess you could. We haven't really talked about plans. So, okay, let's spend a few moments talking about plans then. Appendix, PHB gear. So, okay, let's spend a few moments talking about plans. To craft items, to craft or empower items, you must have the plans necessary to do so. Crafting items. You automatically have the plans to create any non-magical item of common rarity up to 100 GP value. Crafting items, empowering items. You must acquire the plans for each type of magic for every magic item you create. They can be plans can be reused, but any modification of materials or abilities require new plans. Researching plans can be traded. Can be traded, purchased, can be purchased, researched, plans can be purchased with gold, researched in an appropriate facility, research in a facility that can create the desired the intended item, that can create the intended item or trade it for, as detailed in the orders section above. $14. C, D, E, plans. So let's roll back up here to where we're describing orders, so we can drop in words about plans. So let's roll back up here to where we're describing orders, so we can drop in words about plans. Let's just drop it here. Plans. In the trade order section below. Research and trade order section sections below. Can be discovered. It can be discovered through adventure, research in a facility that can create the intended item, or traded for as detailed in the research and trade sections below. Research in a facility that can create the intended item, or traded for as detailed in the research and trade sections. Copy, paste. Burp. And then we'll take the same thing. Rarity value. There it is. That's where it goes. There it is. That's where it goes. Put them in here. materials. This will be plans. There, plans, items, manufacturing. And up here, plans, items, manufacturing. Here, plans can be discovered through adventure, research. And every item and every you must have plans for every you must have plans for every magic item you create. Plans can be reused, but any modification of materials and abilities require new plans. Plans can be discovered through adventure, research in a facility that can create the intended item, or traded for as detailed in the research and trade sections below. However, up here we have plans. Let's drop this to 12. To craft items, you must have the plans necessary to do so. A facility automatically a facility has the plans for any item of common value up to 100 gold pieces, but more valuable items require separate plans to create. There. That, I think, resolves everything I needed to say about that. So let's go down to research. Gather information. Research. Magical plan. There it is. Magical plans. Your Bastion discovers the plans to create a valuable the rarity of magic item determines the DC. Your Bastion discovers the plans to create a magic item or valuable non-magical item. To create a specific magical item or valuable non-magical item. The rarity of the item determines the DC to discover the plans for the rarity of the item determines the DC to discover it. To discover plans to create it. To create it. Item creation plans. A specific specific magic item, a specific a chosen, thank you, a chosen magic item or valuable non-magical item. Like, for example, a castle that requires 200,000 gold to create. That would require a plan. You have to have a plan to make one of those. And you can either research it by figuring out how the castles work and make your plan, or pick from a selection of ones that work already that way. Trade. Rarity of item that can be traded this way. When issuing a trade order, a bastion doesn't need to offer while some bastions are designed specifically to harvest materials or create items with the facilities and hirelings chosen for those bastions, the trade order can obtain materials already harvested or items already created from facilities in other bastions and settlements. When issuing the trade order, the bastion doesn't need to offer specific items or payments to obtain the item traded unless a complication requires it. Otherwise, the costs related to trading are automatically incorporated into maintaining a lifestyle for the bastion. The DC of the bastion check to determine of the bastion test is determined by the value of the material or items received during trade. The maximum value and rarity of an item that can be traded this way is limited by the rank of the facility carrying out the order. Yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. That's not the right language. Up to can be up to the rank of the bastion. The number of bastion points expended to improve the facility up to the rank of the bastion. There. Purchasing the non-magical items received. Thank you. The gold cost of the item traded with the item or plans to create the item acquired through trade. This can be a single item up to the listed gold and value in gold, or it can be a collection of similar items such as simple weapons, medium, armor, blah blah blah. Radio materials. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, that works. That totally works. Perfect. So we don't discuss plans directly in any of those sections, but I think something warrants mentioning plans specifically. Page B gear. Let's erase that. Let's go down here. see what we can find. Let's erase that. Let's go down here. Plans. Purchasing plans to create non or magical items. No, we can't purchase. You just can't purchase plans. You just can't. You gotta acquire them somehow. Plans are the source of adventure. Yeah, I mean, you can trade for them. That's fine. So there's no cost. But I'm not going to provide. I don't think we need to provide a direct dollar cost. That is something that I think can and should be resolved through the Bastion. I'm okay with that. So there's no cost. I'm not going to provide. I don't think we need to provide a direct dollar cost. That is something that I think can and should be resolved through the Bastion. I'm okay with that. As you can justify them being really cheap. You can justify them being insanely expensive. It's up to you. You can. The DM can make that call if they really want to. If they want to offer them for sale, they can be a copper piece if they want, or your soul. Who cares? Whatever. It's up to you. So I'm going to wash my hands of that conversation. We're done now. Okay, cool. So back into this. That all got triggered off of the research issue. Okay, cool. So back into this. You have the plans. The plans you have to create the item are flawed and need to be flawed. Period. The item being crafted becomes cursed during its creation. Issue the Empower Order to purge the item of its detriment. The item being crafted becomes cursed. Create an adventure. Create an adventure or issue the Empower Order to purge the item of its detriment. I like that. The facilities lack the materials needed to create the item. Look, I'm using proper English. Create an adventure or issue the harvest order. Create an adventure or issue the harvest order for hirelings to gather the materials needed. Nah, that works. Maintain. Hirelings in the facilities. Refuse to work due to detrimental conditions, due to unsafe conditions. to let's go with issue the recruit order to hire a specialist familiar with creating the chosen item. The facility hirelings hirelings in the facilities lack the skill to produce the item. Period. Period. Issued the maintain order to temporarily improve the Bastion lifestyle or create an adventure to investigate what would that be? Becomes cursed during its creation. Issued the empower order to purge the item of its detriment. Or create an adventure to discover the source, to purge the, to discover and remove the source of the curse. Issue the harvest order for hirelings to gather materials needed, or create an adventure to help the settlement supplying the needed materials. To end a conflict. Ah, that's fun. Or create an adventure to end a complication in the settlement supplying the needed materials. Issue the harvest order for hirelings to assist in gathering the materials needed. From period. These are intentionally vague. Hirelings in the facility refused to work due to unsafe work conditions. Issue the maintain order to temporarily improve the Bastion lifestyle for the workers. Or create an adventure to investigate the cause. Yeah, the cause of the unsafe conditions. See how some of these lean towards combat versus exploration versus social pillars? You can choose based on like what the taste your team has to fashion to fashion these events to lean into the narrative that the team wants. You can have a non-combat D&D campaign this way, where the only combat you have are Bastion conflicts, which are just resolved with ability check rolls as damage. Super simple, very, very simple to do. It's a very RPG light system. Super simple, very, very simple. It's a very RPG light system. Pardon me for a second. There's a thing in my back that's been trying to find a way out of my body, and it keeps trying to create gaps in my frame, which comes across as a weird urge to stretch and contort. Recruit. Hirelings in the facility lack the skill to produce the item. Issue the recruit order to hire a specialist familiar with creating the chosen item, or create an adventure to convince a specialist to assist in creating the chosen item. Or create an adventure to convince a specialist. Yeah, that'll work. Or create an adventure to convince. Research. The plans you have to create the item are flawed. Issue the research order to to discover the plans. That's really simple. Or create an adventure to find existing plans for the chosen item. Reroll if the chosen item is common rarity. Common rarity. Because you automatically have the plans for common rarities. Or create an adventure to find existing plans for the chosen item. Trade. Or create an adventure to find existing plans for the facilities. Back to harvest. It's the same problem, but it's being resolved a different way. And that's fun. The facilities lack the materials needed to create the item. Issue the trade order. To dispatch hirelings to acquire the materials needed. Or create a plot hook, or create an adventure to establish a new line, a new source of materials. Okay, that feels good. Resolved if the item is common rarity. And then in Harvest, we'll have resolved if a storehouse, if the Bastion has a storehouse with the appropriate type of materials. This automatically resolves if the Bastion blah blah blah. This automatically resolves if the item is common rarity. So I rolled this, but I'm not going like if I have a store, like if I need mineral materials and I have a storehouse that specifically has mineral materials in it, I can ignore this complication. It just automatically resolves. I don't have to use any effort because I have a storehouse in place that takes care of it for me already. So that works out well. And nothing's going to make that automatically resolve. There. I like that. I like that. We might end up getting rid of things like that, but I like it. And nothing's going to make that automatically resolve. No, wait. I get a bonus. I get a bonus to harvest. That complication automatically resolves if the item is... Yeah. I think... I get a bonus to harvest. That complication automatically resolves... Okay, let's go up and look at Storehouse real quick because I think Storehouse just gives us dice now. I don't think it resolves stuff. How long ago did I start this adventure? Let me check my clock over here. Let me make sure I'm on point with my time today. How long ago did I start this adventure? Let me check my clock over here. Hour and a half. Okay, we're doing good. Yeah, I think I'll do this a little bit more, then I'm going to bail. I want to be here. Let's go, yeah, Storehouse. Let's go up to the Storehouse. Storehouse, yes. When issuing the craft order to create non-magical items, you can roll an additional Bastion die. When issuing a harvest order to acquire any types of materials, you can roll an additional Bastion die. You can issue the trade order to have any type of material or non-magical items in the materials, plans, or non-magical items delivered to this facility. Good. Yeah, that's good. To acquire any type of materials. Yeah, that's good. Okay. to acquire the needed materials. There, now that complies. Now your storehouse die can use this, so we no longer need to have the parenthetical there. The needed materials. There, now that complies. Now your storehouse die can use this, so we no longer need to have. Issue the harvest order to assist in acquiring the materials needed. Acquiring is the trigger word. To assist in acquiring the materials needed. Acquiring is the trigger word. You know what? Honestly, I'm feeling pretty fatigued. I think I've had a long day, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut my day short here, have some personal time to myself, do some quiet artwork for the Eberron adventure. We're going to continue here on Thursday. But I like this. We made some good progress today. It's just my heart's saying it's time to go. So I'm going to kick out of here. Hey, check in the link down below at the DRAGONFLIGHT video that I put out. It's pretty cool. I'll see you guys on the other side. Cheers.